wait for everything to catch up. All right, we're live.
Are
We
we?
did it. We're live.
I don't know if we are.
No, we are. I think we are. We're definitely live. I think there's gonna be latency though.
Okay, yeah.
It's,
It's definitely delayed. That's for
it's
sure.
very delayed. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we're live.
We are.
We did it. We are
Apparently.
learning.
We think we've done it.
YouTube just alerted me that we went live.
Oh yeah, I'm listening to us right now as we
There we go. Cool. We figured it out. Cool.
yeah.
We can learn things.
So Nick is gonna watch it while he's part of it.
Yeah, we can learn things.
No, you guys can talk. I'll just watch this and we'll see what happens.
All right. Sounds good. Let's see. I need to make this bigger. We have 2 viewers. Nick, I think you're one of the viewers.
Dude,
I think
nice.
I am one of the viewers, yeah. Which one of
half
you
the
is on
audience.
too?
What'd you say?
Which one of you is on too?
I thought about it.
No, I think it might be
Oh.
Kayla.
No, it's Katie.
Is it
She
Katie?
just texted me, said I'm on.
Nice.
That's funny.
Thank you for the support, Katie. We really appreciate you. Can't wait to come to Indiana and eat Pizza King with you. It'd be great. It's a great time. Maybe we should get Katie on a podcast. That's what we really should talk about, is how we should strategize how to get her on a podcast, because I think people should listen to Katie more often than they do.
I'm not gonna have that conversation.
He says not live anyway.
Not live.
Like-
Not live. I think
She would do a great job if she chose to, that's for sure.
Yes, she would do phenomenal. People might actually listen to our podcast if
Katie
she
texts
was
me and says, "Love you, Park,"
on. Love you back, girl.
and she's not
tell-
coming upstairs.
Tell her to leave comments at least.
Oh, well, she's watching, so she can. You can tell her.
I was gonna say that, like tell it.
That's so funny.
Katie, I'm Brody, by the
Yeah,
way.
Katie, this is
This is-
Brody. This is my buddy Brody. He's
We're
our
still talking to
are
our
you-
audience of one here.
volunteer producer.
We're yes, yeah. Yes, yeah. We include our audience, you know. It's very important.
Yeah. Hey, at
Even
least we
if
got
there's
on
just
something. We gotta do a live.
Or
know,
you
Saturday.
we could spin it. We talk to 100% of our audience. That's
There you go.
That's
Hey,
who we are.
Yeah, we engage. That's
We
what-
engage
promotion
with
on
one-
things.
With-
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So Nick, for consistency purposes, how was your week?
Good.
Nice, Brody.
Yeah, there we go.
My week was good. I had a good week. So,
Good. What'd you do?
oh man, I could have told you. Well, honestly, I spent a lot of it with you. So
did. You actually did.
Yeah.
We came over. We worked on OBS and we did a
Yep.
whole bunch of stuff for the podcast, and very
Yeah.
fruitful. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. We learned a lot of what we aren't able to do.
Yes. Yeah. We've
Like
thrown that out.
incompatible programs.
But we learned a lot and we had fun.
Yeah, it was good. So,
So-
we're learning as we go. We're trying to do the best we can here. One comment. Let's see who we got here. Let me see.
You're the comment.
Am I the comment?
You're the. That's the
Why
comment.
does it read? That's so dumb.
He got excited.
So can you guys? I don't see anything on your side. So do you guys see the comments as if they happen?
Yep.
So you guys
Yeah.
can see that. Okay.
So we can see viewers, we can see likes, average view duration. We can see everything.
It's kinda neat.
And that's for both Facebook and YouTube. So right now we're live to Facebook and YouTube.
Nice.
So
And you can see audience size.
yeah, concurrent viewers.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
Should I share this? Like, should I jump on and?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, put it on Facebook, and here I think I can I do that while I'm streaming? I don't know. Probably should have done it earlier. Well, no, YouTube should be good because YouTube should be fine because I did the upcoming, like I scheduled the stream. So
Well, if you did Facebook, you'd have to do it from your phone because you're on
Yes.
the WatchWell.
But Nick does a good job with most of the posts. He does a lot of the posting.
He's your hype man.
I do one every now and then, but he does a good job.
He says thanks.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to it. Went to the wrong thing.
That's my job here.
Yeah. But no, I think this is going to be fun. Go ahead,
It's
Nick.
in a story. It's in our Facebook story. Did you know that's
cool!
how-
Right
Yeah,
up
you
front.
can,
See, that's what I was saying.
There was a button that says you can throw that up there.
Throw what up there?
You can put it like in your story.
Let me see here.
You did it. I
think I thought. Yeah.
I think it's selected by default. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Wow, it shows me like a bunch of stuff.
It does.
Dude, I like it.
Interesting. We'll see if anybody joins us. Anybody
we'll
else?
see.
Any more?
My thought is just super laid back, a little different, little less production from the normal podcast episodes.
Yeah.
And it gives anybody that follows, it gives them a chance to talk to us. If they have any ideas for the podcast, or if they have questions, or we could start there, Nick, if you want to talk about favorite episodes. We haven't done like a recap in a long time.
It's hard to pick if we're talking
really
favorite
is.
episodes of art.
You've mentioned Titanic a couple of times as one of your favorites. I don't know if you want to start
that
there.
one was really good.
Yeah, and that one had really good timing. I mean, unfortunate, but
I know that was so bonkers, because we looked at it and it was like, what did it have, like 200 views in the first hour or something?
Well, because you guys
was a
obviously
lot. I don't know.
before all that happened.
Yeah, we filmed it back in April.
Yeah, we did. So I actually, fun fact about the Titanic episode, we filmed 3 episodes. I think it was 3 or 4 episodes, and so I had those in like an episode bank, and I was editing them, but I forgot the order in which
You did them?
recorded them.
Yeah.
So then I edited them, and I accidentally uploaded them out of order.
So Titanic launched.
But it worked out, because I uploaded Titanic last, and it should have been uploaded
First.
Which was it?
Yeah, it would have been Titanic, Jesus Revolution, Crazy Stupid Love.
That's correct.
That's
correct. Yeah. And I flipped them. I messed the order up.
Yeah,
whatever
Jesus Revolution was first.
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
Which also did really well.
It did really well, but with the submarine that imploded,
Yeah.
it just so happened that
when I
uploaded Titanic, so the algorithm took that as,
like a response or something.
Yeah. So it worked out really well.
So that was never mentioned in the episode, because when we recorded it hadn't happened yet.
It hadn't happened.
Yeah, because you recorded it like 2 months prior.
Yeah, so I can't even take credit that it was like intentional, that we were trying to chase a trend or anything like that. It
just
so
happened.
Fun fact there.
But I think the Jesus Revolution episode is one of my favorites, because even beyond what we talk about, I enjoyed the movie much more than I expected to. 'Cause I thought it was a much better movie than what I was expecting it to be. So I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed watching the movie, but then I also enjoyed talking about it afterwards.
Yeah, Nick, we have a comment. Kayla posted a comment, our very first YouTube comment on the stream. It's really good.
Thank you, Kayla.
It's really good. Yeah. So, which episode would you go back and redo? Any additional commentary or changed perspectives on an episode? So now we have to filter through all 33 episodes.
Do we have that many?
I think it's let's see. I think it's somewhere in the low 30s.
I would probably redo all of the episodes that involve my favorite movies. So like the Dark Knight trilogy, I would redo the Dark Knight. And then I might redo I just had one in my head and I lost it. Inception. I would probably maybe redo that one. For that one,
Those were
not
really
because of the
good, though.
content. It was good, but I had my microphone off the entire episode of
Oh, I
Inception,
forgot
so
about that. You're right.
it was using my computer mic, so the audio wasn't that good. So I
So
think
you're
that's
saying
one
on
that I
that
would
one,
redo.
you would re-record that one because of like production errors, not because of you have like a difference of
Well, if we're
opinion.
talking about production, I would redo the first 20.
Right, sure. Everything before the one that's going to release later once it
Right.
uploads.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have any changed perspectives? Because that's the second. That's kind of the follow up. Any changed perspectives on an episode?
I really don't think it, not off the top of my head. I'm sure I could think of something if I went back and reviewed everything we said. I'm sure I could find something, but I don't have anything off the top of my head. What about you?
No, the only thing that I can think of is just different ways to communicate the same thing.
Yeah.
Any like specific examples, but I remember listening to some of our past episodes and thinking, "Oh man, I wish I would have said," but like in a different way.
Right.
Uh,
Maybe like some things
yeah.
that we could have said more in a more clear
Right.
way.
Because we don't really script, like we have an outline, but we don't really script the episodes. So it's there's a live nature to each of the episodes,
Yeah, even though they're recorded.
even though
Yeah.
they're recorded. Which is why we probably have so many technical difficulties.
Yeah, sure. Which is part of the reason, the things that we can control, part of the reason that Brody's on board.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Here.
I want to ask you what's been your favorite I mean, I know you've only been around a couple weeks.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite thing so far?
So my favorite. So I had joined actually with the first part that should be coming out today. Hopefully, if everything.
Yeah, the audio. So that's actually a good point. I want to throw that out there. The audio, because people this is being recorded as well as it is live. So the audio. So our Catholicism versus Protestantism worldview response to Candace Owens' debate on YouTube. At this time the audio is live on all major podcast platforms, and the YouTube video podcast should be live soon. But it's like I said before, it's taking
a bit. Yeah.
forever to upload to YouTube. So go
But that
check that out if you wanna check that out. Part 2's coming out soon. I gotta edit that and then get it up within the next week or so. But sorry, back to you.
So part 1 was the first time I joined. I think I said a couple of things in there, but I pretty much stayed quiet just to kind of get used to things. But I think my favorite part of just being part of this is, I mean, not to sound cliche, but you guys. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm here
Yeah.
because, Parker invited me, and I've enjoyed getting to know Nick and stuff too. And so I think my favorite, like, part of this is what is going to happen from it. I think it's kind of fun that like this is my third time here and we're doing a live. Like I'm really kind of getting like thrown into and seated well, I think, hopefully. So
Because you wanted to learn some of this stuff.
yeah, the back end stuff and kind of get used to, microphone and a camera and microphone, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
talking with braces is kind of a interesting curveball. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
I'm going to
Yeah,
throw
but-
out there. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, you go. If you're going to ask Brody a question, go ahead.
Nope. Wasn't.
Nope. All right. I was going to throw out there that I really enjoyed one of our first episodes. I think it was actually episode 3 if you go through, but it was the second movie review, The Batman. I thought that one was really good, talking about vengeance. And then Free Guy was surprisingly good too.
Yeah.
Not just our episode, but the movie itself too.
Yeah, I really like that.
So the Batman, that was the one with Robert Pattinson, right? Is that the one you're referring to?
The newer one. Yeah. What? It's a year old now.
20,
Something like that.
22, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I still have opinions about that Batman movie though, because I think he did an okay job. But I think it would have been better if he looked more like Batman, like body type. Because I don't think that it was very believable with his body type. Like Batman's a big, strong guy. I think Christian Bale was the perfect role, like the cast for that role to make it believable. Because I think that his name's escaping me.
Robert
married
Pattinson.
to
Ben
married,
Affleck?
yeah, Ben Affleck.
Oh,
I think he
okay.
was too thick. Like he looked a little too chubby, not strong. So
Yeah, he was built, but
because that
Christian
was
Bale was like
the Marvel, like he's Batman in the Marvel. I'm
Yeah.
sorry,
DC.
the Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't say Batman's Marvel.
No, you can't.
Although that'd be a good way for you to start getting views.
We don't watch Marvel.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, Phase 1 and Phase 2 was all right,
Yeah.
but
So, but yeah, that would be my complaint about that movie. But I thought like the script was good. I thought the highlight of the movie, in my opinion, was the villain.
Yeah, the Riddler.
The Riddler was.
Oh,
the
I've not
guy that
seen
played
it.
The Riddler was phenomenal.
Oh, you haven't seen it? Okay.
I haven't seen it yet, so
Oh,
I didn't know that
man.
they brought in the Riddler because it's been so long since a Batman like series or movie has utilized the Riddler. And really the
Yeah.
Penguin too. I mean, I can't remember,
Right.
but
But I think that's coming out.
I think you're right.
If I'm not mistaken, the Penguin's in that movie.
I think he's
It's
in the
just
new
Yeah,
not
but they
highlighted.
completely different versions
Yeah.
of each of those characters,
Right.
like you've never seen before.
Right.
So they're much
It
more
was so good though.
real
I
and
loved it. I loved it.
yeah, really good too. Like it just looks incredible.
Yeah.
Like
and it's more investigative.
They utilize his detective skills more than just his
Yeah,
action.
Well,
Batman's more.
he's investigating. He doesn't necessarily solve anything.
That's correct.
That could be another criticism of the
Yeah, he
of the
does.
movie
Yeah,
too.
yeah. All he does is just show up and look around.
That's
And
it.
then
Okay.
things
And-
kind of fall into place as he
Yeah.
As he goes.
But Nick's right. The movie looks good.
I'll have to watch it. I mean, I'll watch anything with
Could you pick your favorite episode, Nick?
No, I just have to name a bunch of them, just like I did. You know, like I mean,
I think I'd have to go. I think I'd have to go early on. I think I'd have to go either. I think Fences has to be up there.
hmm
I think
I would
be
redo that one. I would
You
redo
would
that one.
redo it? Why would you
Yeah.
redo that one?
I had a typo in my notes, so I misquoted what a certain scripture was in there.
Oh, you.
So I remember that.
Heretic.
I cited something as Ephesians 6:4, and it should have been a couple verses later because I wrote it down wrong in my notes.
Yeah, that'll really mess
So if
people up.
anyone go through and look at that, see if you can find that
Little
mistake
Easter
in
egg.
there. Listen
Yeah.
for it. But
Yeah, well, you know what that reminds me of is I went to the Bible Museum. So my wife had a work trip. We went to Washington D.C.
Yeah.
to the Creation, or not the Creation Museum, right?
It's the Museum of the Bible.
Yeah, Museum of the Bible.
Yeah.
And we went there, and it's so cool to walk him and see all of the like historical Bibles.
Yeah.
And there were some. I have pictures on my phone. There's, if I can remember, there was one Bible that let's see if I can find this picture here. It was super interesting. There was a typo in the Bibles, and they saved them. And the Bible was like, I'm forgetting, but it was like "Thou shalt murder" or something like that. It's like super interesting. But we got that was a fun thing. But Nick's misquoting kind of made me have to show you
Think
guys
of
later
that.
off stream, but made me think of that.
Typos.
Like there was a few different typos where they called it like the murder Bible or something like that.
That's funny.
It's
I've
like
not
on
heard
the
of that
little
one.
placard. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
When we went to DC, because you went like a week or two right after we did, or something like that, a couple weeks after.
I think that
We went to the Library of Congress, and they had one of the original like Gutenberg. Do you guys
press?
know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
they had one of the original ones, like there.
That's
It was
cool.
one of the coolest things.
yeah. So so I have it in here somewhere. I think it's up there. But we went to like I said, we were at the Bible Museum, and they have the functional press.
Yeah, yeah. And
Did you
was
see
there a
that?
lady that was like doing?
Well, it was a guy when we were there.
Oh, it was a lady for
and
us.
We were the only ones
guess
around.
that
So
makes
he
sense.
actually pressed one and then let me keep the paper.
Yeah, they do that though.
Yeah.
Because she had a whole crowd. And it was cool because
Go ahead.
so she spoke a couple different languages too. I don't know if the guy did or not, but and so she I don't know if she let them press it or but they got to walk away with like presses of stuff.
Yeah.
So
But he like talked about the paper. It was
it was cool.
incredible. I highly recommend people go. You could spend a couple days in that building.
Yeah, we had to rush through it, but it was fun. Mom, Jazzy, and I kind of split up.
The American, like how Bible shaped American history that whole part was awesome. It was so cool.
Well, and that was the first time. I mean, this is terrible to admit, but that was the first time I'd ever heard of the Gutenberg. It is the Gutenberg, right?
Sounds right.
Because there's a cheese that's similar to that too.
So we have another comment on here real quick. It
Nice.
says she's gonna get mad at me for reading this, but I'm gonna read it anyway because it's fun to pick on Katie because I love her.
Oh no.
It says, fun fact, Titanic. I went to see it 7 times in the theater. Not embarrassed. It was a good episode. Batman and the discussion of vengeance was one of my favorite. Could have gone on. And then she posted after that. She says, and there's a said that.
So delay between.
So she posted and then
She can hear me speaking in the room.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No. She can. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I'm sure you're correct, Nick. She can hear you in the room, and then yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. The delay. That makes sense. That's funny. Perks of having an insider.
Yeah. So you have some questions.
I do have some questions.
Yeah, we can.
Ready for that?
Yeah.
So, actually, well, to be fair, he doesn't know what they are either.
I don't know what they are either.
Yeah, he just gave me some parameters, and
we needed something to talk about instead of just going live and just staring at each other for an hour.
Which I don't have a problem with. I mean, like to anyway.
I'd rather go in the other room and look at my wife.
Yes, I'll stare at myself. So, do you want me to read off the topics, or you just want me to dive in? Right. Okay.
Yeah, let's just do one at a time.
All right. So the fun topic, and I don't know. I guess he didn't really give me a definition of what fun meant. So yeah, I took it as something that would be fun to talk about. But if you were thinking something more along the lines of
Random's
Cedar
good.
Point, I did not go in that direction. So
Random's good.
So the fun topic that I have, because again, it would be fun to talk about and hear what you guys have, is how masculinity needs femininity and reversed. Femininity needs masculinity. And I'm talking.
You can't go that deep without.
All right, that's fair. Okay, but that's what I had. So because I thought it'd be, and maybe if we can talk about just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just to see what you guys, and then if something spurs later, I think that's fine. But I am referring to both of these in the true sense, not in the societal definitions. I'm talking about biblical masculinity.
So why don't you start off by defining the societal as you see it?
So to me, societal masculinity or toxic masculinity, basically, I think they see the same things about men. I guess really what I'm saying is the definitions are not that different. It is more the perspectives of what it looks like to, I guess, operate inside of all of them. So, meaning, I think toxic masculinity and what men look like today and what men should look like, I still really believe in. It's just a matter of a response. Most people think that that's wrong. So I guess to actually give a definition, toxic masculinity and what I think society is they want to strip the masculine nature of a man, reduce the domination in a healthy sense, not in a domineering way, but in a men are designed to conquer things. And hunting and working out and this whole body, I think is crazy how there's even talks about what you look like and how you look like is okay. That kind of stuff. And I believe a man should be fit and strong, which is ironic. I know, especially the conversations that you and I have.
Yeah, but we're getting better, right?
Yeah, but I'm struggling forward.
Yeah.
Right. So I strive to do that. But I think that that's what masculine. I think here's I guess if I was to define in a statement what masculinity looks like, it is to be able to have a healthy, be operating in a healthy sense in all 4 spheres of life, so that you never have to not do something that God tells you to do.
Okay.
Does that kind of make sense? I'm still working on actually wording it.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Nick, I hear ruffling of pages.
Oh, I'm not ready yet, but I'm just trying to listen and trying to formulate some thoughts at the same time, but I was still listening. So
okay. So when you're ready, then
No, I guess I can talk a little bit,
Okay.
but it's interesting you bring this up because I just read a book, and I'm gonna plug the book. And the book is called The Warrior Poet Way by John Lovell. Okay, and John Lovell started the Warrior Poet Society. So I read the book. It was really good, and I would highly recommend reading it.
Anything by John Lovell is
It's very
top
good.
tier.
Yeah, very good. And he talks about, the Bible talks about lion and lamb, right?
Yeah.
And in the book he talks about how a lot of people in society, there's like the whole alpha male
Yes.
vibrato
Yes.
that society's like, oh, you're alpha male. So it's almost like society has said men need to be women to avoid toxic masculinity. So the pull is to go the entirely other side of the spectrum,
Become a beta.
and to yeah, that whole thing. It's super weird. But John puts it out really well, and he says to be true biblical masculinity, it's not an or lamb. It's both.
It's lion and lamb.
You have to be both.
Yeah.
And he says you have to be incredibly dangerous, fit. You have to have, the all of the aspects of a warrior.
Even Jordan Peterson talks on that from a psychological perspective.
Right, absolutely. But you also have to be able to go home and be tender and kind and loving to your wife, and being able to, be present for your kids, and
you can't be on all the time.
Well, it's almost like the higher calling is to be on all the time. It's just compartmentalizing what part of masculinity is on at that appropriate time. If that makes sense.
Yes, I agree. I'm saying, like, when you come home, you shouldn't be like in a I'm about to work out mindset while your wife's making dinner. You know,
so he talks about
how the dishes,
how he knows because John his experience in the book is he was a former Army Ranger.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he knows guys that are incredible at war.
Yeah.
But their marriages are in shambles.
Yeah.
And their kids have no relationship with their fathers.
Yeah, you hear stuff like that all the time. So that to me is what.
So I think the pull is to make to neuter men, and to make them incapable of being how God designed them. And then the unbelieving society says, okay, well, we don't want to do that because we are men, and they go the entirely the opposite way and say, oh, I'm all of fill in the blank of what you would use to define masculinity.
I think the one of my favorite definitions, or quote, not a definition, it's a quote, but, and I'm sure both of you have heard it, is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Right.
Right. And so to me, when you said lion and lamb, that's what it is. I think I don't need to redefine what masculinity looks like. I think that's what it looks like, is being a warrior in a garden. Because to me, that says that, okay, you know how to fight, but you also know how to maintain peace, and not only maintain it, but be in it. I think there's a difference between maintaining it and fighting for it, and then actually submitting to peace.
Right.
So,
Nick?
Man, you guys covered so much ground. Like, I'm sitting here trying to process what you said. I'm gonna go off of one of the at some point in that exchange. Parker, you mentioned, trying to make men less manly, or trying to go the two opposite direction. I think something that's really important to recognize is, and I think you were recognizing it in what you were saying. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were. That at least when it started, I think there's definitely some elements of agenda when you talk about toxic masculinity, and, like, certain types of ideologies, like pushing it forward. But for the average person, the idea of toxic masculinity, and then trying to take that aspect of power and strength and all those things away from men, is a direct response to the failure of the men who those people have experienced.
Absolutely.
The men who those people have encountered, and the abuses associated with male power, and you could use the biblical word headship and authority and all of those things, because there's so much prevalent abuses that
Right.
exist in the world. I mean, like fathers who have abandoned their children, and or who beat their children, or show an absolute lack of love for their children's mother, or even worse than that. Like there's so many countless examples of things like that taking place. So the natural response for somebody who's been hurt like that, just like the natural response for somebody who's been hurt or by the church, is to
Right.
run
Absolutely.
away and
100%.
completely shun it.
Mhm.
If I'm
'Cause they
sitting
think that's
here,
what the definition is.
right, then
Yeah.
to me, what is a man? A man hurts me.
Mm.
Right.
Like that, and you don't have to be a female to have that thought. A man who grew up underneath the thumb of an abusive father who hurt you, and I mean that's exactly why I mentioned what I misquoted in the book of Ephesians. Fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath.
Mm.
Right? Do not provoke your children to anger. Men who perpetuate those types of traits in the wrong direction provoke their children to
They
anger
wound.
and
Yeah,
make them
absolutely.
rise up in anger against them. And because I mean, when you heard pages flipping, the verse that I always come back to is 1 Corinthians 16:13. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, and act like men. Be
Mhm.
strong. And then verse 14, let all that you do be done in love.
Right.
Strength and love are not opposites. They aren't even two different sides of the same coin. They are the same side of the same coin.
I think that's a
And-
good word right
without-
there.
Yeah, that there's a lot
Yeah.
more that we could go into
As I
that.
say, we can slow the train down, but
because
I think what you just said, though, Nick, before Parker completes his thought, is strength and love being the same side of the same coin. I think is an absolutely imperative definition, especially in 2023. I think that's
but love in and of itself, I think, is strength.
yeah.
Because
Love is
that's why one dies for another.
yeah.
And there's no
Exactly.
greater act of service than a man that lays his life down for another, right?
Right.
So I would say that
Strength
say
in
that-
love.
I would say that I mean it's Christ,
Yeah.
So I would say that the reason why we do things, love would be the greatest motivator to do those things.
Yeah, I agree. And then
which it would be strength. So because it's an antidote to fear, because you cast out, so if I'm gonna die for my family, I'm no longer gonna be afraid to do that,
right.
because of how much I love what's behind me,
Right.
and I love them more than what I fear in front of me, which allows me to enter into that situation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I mean it's
It's love at the foundation, and strength comes out of that.
well, it's FDR's. Oh shoot, I think it's FDR. I might be misquoting that. It's one of the Roosevelts. It's either Teddy or Franklin. In one of his speeches, I think it was Franklin, because I think it was around World War II. But his quote of, "Fear is not the." Okay, I just gotta look it up. Fear is not the absence of courage.
No, courage is not the absence of fear.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Courage is not the
absence of fear, but rather the assessment that what is on the other side is more important.
Correct.
And I think that's important, and that's one of my favorite things, where people are like, "Oh, don't be afraid." It's like, no, be afraid, but do it anyway.
Right.
And I think that's important. Like, you can be afraid. I can't imagine, like, you tell me that you give me the top tier trained SEAL, any Spec Ops guy, any Black Ops guy.
They're just normal guys.
Yeah, I can't imagine that they're jumping out of a plane going, "I'm not afraid." I just think that they understand. And maybe when you do it enough, maybe that's the case. I guess I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
there's
but-
You probably just get used to it. You're not.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
still have
Yeah,
the
but-
same fear.
but it's still there.
Fear is diminished with training.
Yes, yeah, because you're confident in your ability to overcome and all of that stuff too. But really, so think of it, the first time you
But
do
it's
anything.
still there.
Yeah, you're still afraid, but why do you do it? Because courage isn't the absence of fear. The goal isn't to get rid of the fear. The
Well,
goal
it's
is
impossible to get rid of fear because we're humans.
yeah. So the goal is to understand that, okay, if I fall into and I believe and I let this fear if I let the fear become the goal, then what's on the other side? It's what's on the other side of the bridge that matters. So, and then okay, so we can kind of calm down the fun fact train or fun topic train, but part of that, if it does spur into anything, is not just defining what masculinity looks like, but defining what femininity looks like and why they're important to be equaled. And I don't mean equal, I mean equal and equal. But I think it's very important that femininity is defined just as much as masculinity.
Well, I think I would have to ask you how you would define equal.
So I don't mean it in
because
like
I think the way society defines toxic masculinity, I think everything Nick said was true about how men, like fallen men, sinful men, abuse the authority that they have.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to wounds and everything Nick said.
But that's also on the same side with femininity.
But it is. But what I'm saying is, in a society like we have today, where we're trying to redefine words, equality can mean something very different.
Yes, but I don't mean it in none of these terms. I mean in what their definitions mean,
which would be,
so like equality. So for me, I think there's, and the Bible makes a lot of things clear. The man is the head of the household,
right,
and all of that stuff.
Right.
But I also think that there still is a equal stance between.
So you're talking value.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yes.
So there's a difference in role, but.
Absolutely.
Equal
There's totally, exactly. Yeah. There's very much, I believe in roles and gender roles and household roles.
In our society today, role is equivalent to value.
No.
And that's a lie.
Absolutely. So that's what I mean. I don't mean it in that definition. I mean like in a true definition. And even
biblical definition.
Yeah. So, but the defining what true masculinity looks like and what true femininity looks like. And basically, why did God look in the Garden of Eden and go, because the garden was perfect, right? Everything was fine. And he looked at Adam and said, you need somebody else. And so I think, why did God do that? And to me, those are what the definitions of what masculinity and femininity looks like and why it's important to have both.
Right.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yep.
So that's that question.
Anything to say on that?
You caught me mid-drink.
I heard him flipping.
So, yeah, and I don't have anything to read at the moment, but context is very important when talking about that. Are we in marriage? Are we talking about in the workplace? Are we talking about in the public sphere and government? Like, I think all of those factors play a role in the way like masculinity and femininity would interact with one another. The roles that people would naturally fall into in that regard. So there's one set of expectations, and I don't know if expectations is the right word. I can't think of a better one at the moment, but one set of expectations and functioning that would happen. One way they would function together in the home.
I think standard is the right word.
Right, standard, yeah. Very different way in another setting, in any one of those other settings.
Yeah, I agree.
So, like, if we're talking in the home, I think the Bible is very clear about the husband being the head of the wife and being primarily responsible and accountable for the functioning of his family, and the wife supports and challenges if necessary, but supports and follows with joy and gladness, and all of those things work together. The husband should be enamored and in love and self-sacrificing and all of those things. So those are just some things that come to mind. Is, the first thing was just, context is matter, or context
Absolutely.
Is important, and it matters.
The answer to all of those questions is
yes.
Yes, I think I'm talking about all of them.
Yeah, you specifically did say like marriage
at
one point, so that's where I took it. But I'm
Yeah.
glad that Nick added that because it's important. So
And I think masculinity looks like, because you can't be the head of a household and then go into your job and have zero authority and then operate in the same realm,
right?
But
cool. Next one.
Okay, so this is a theological or a Bible question.
So was that one.
I know, right?
They're gonna be very yeah.
You came out with the big guns, man.
That's fair. That was the first thing that I thought of, and in my defense, it was 20 minutes prior to us like going. So
That's fair.
I come in and he goes, "Hey, I need you to think of 4 things," and I was like, "Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking of."
That's
so
fair.
this is another one that probably is too deep for a live, but again, it'd be just kind of fun to hear some preliminary thoughts. But on gifts of the Spirit and how they operate today, and do you believe that they still operate today, or do you believe that they died with the apostles?
Brody.
I can change it really quick too. Who's your favorite character of the Bible?
My favorite. Paul.
Samson, dude. He had
Paul.
he had luscious
I'm
locks.
going with Paul.
And hey, you never go swimming
Jesus.
with Philistine women. That's all I gotta say.
Jesus.
Okay, that's okay. Sunday school.
I mean,
Nick, who's your favorite?
he's an
character of the
important one.
Bible? He's important. I don't know that he's my favorite.
I'll stick with. I'll say exactly what Parker said. I'll stick with what Parker said there.
Jesus.
I'm
Okay, that's a by default though.
But you didn't say that.
You didn't say that, man.
My
You didn't say
apologies. My apologies. By default, Jesus, I think has to be your favorite.
You had
I think
one
that is
job.
kind of the whole. I know, and it was I was given a 20-minute. No.
So aliens.
This is derailing. This is going off the rails
This
here.
is Parker's topic.
Kayla says everything is theological.
That's fair.
Man,
That is. I think
there.
if you're not using the Bible as a filter, I don't know what you're doing as
But
a Christian.
that's kind of our whole thing though, because we
Yeah,
want to view stories and life through the lens of truth, and bad theology hurts people.
That's true.
So it's really
Did you
Were we
steal
actually
that
talking about
somewhere?
aliens?
I think I did. Was it apologia?
Are we not answering that question? I mean, I don't necessarily
No.
want to, and are we not
I
answering the
don't.
one
I don't
that-
necessarily want to. He says.
But I'm not in
I just-
control either, so
You're not in control. Who's in
Yeah.
control?
I don't know. Brody's
don't
got
know
the
either.
questions.
Jesus is in control. He's just operating through me.
Oh wow, there we go. More theology.
We don't have to answer that question.
I think it's I don't know what I don't know what I want to say to that one. I want to prepare for that one.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm not ready
Sounds
for that conversation.
So next topic is current event in news. Do we want to move on, or do you want to do a Bible topic? And I can think of something a little bit
No,
more
we can move on.
graceful than what's your favorite character? And David, by the way, is my second.
So we're doing the favorite character that's obviously not
Jesus
Christ.
is number one. I think if he's not number one, you're really missing the whole Christianity thing. So who's your second favorite?
Okay, thanks for being clear.
Yeah, well, I didn't know I needed them.
Bible character, and that.
And do you want me to split it up? We could go Old Testament and New Testament. What is your second favorite Old Testament and your second favorite New Testament character?
Let's just stick with one. Let's
I
say
like-
one.
David is mine.
David.
Okay.
David is mine.
I would go with the Apostle Paul.
Why?
I said Paul first.
I don't care.
I said Paul first.
Don't
If we
care.
can all have the same favorite
There-
first character, we can have the same favorite second character.
Yeah, there was no rule that said you can't say something someone else has said. So
Okay, fair enough.
But
Okay.
also, to be fair, there weren't any rules that I knew needed to be placed.
That's fair.
Right.
So,
That's fair.
okay. So why is Paul your?
For our 2 listeners, I want you guys to post in the comment what your favorite Bible character is to help us out on this one. And per Brody's rules, it cannot be Jesus.
Because that has to be one.
It has to be number 1.
Yeah.
So this is your second favorite,
Your second favorite.
Bible character.
So
Or-
Nick, why?
So can we stop saying character? Because that makes does that have mythological connotations?
it does
to
make it
maybe,
sound like
maybe
a
there's
fiction.
a conversation there.
Fiction.
These
I've
like our
always-
These are like real people that existed and lived.
Okay, yeah, your favorite person.
Yeah, I like person. Nick, do you have any thoughts on that? Or am I thinking too much into it?
I
Or
think
does
you're
this
thinking
have
too
to be-
much. I think character is perfectly fine.
Okay. It's like character in a movie like Batman.
Yeah. All right, so Nick,
Right,
give us
but, like,
two.
Johnny Cash is also a character in the movie Walk the Line because it's about Johnny Cash,
That's fair.
That's true.
That's fair.
right? So
Give us a couple like quick snippets as to why Paul Paul is your favorite, second favorite.
Mine's he wrote Romans. I'm taking that one. I'm taking that one.
That's fine.
That's my opinion.
So then, do we establish the rule that we can't repeat the reasons? We can repeat the person, but we can't repeat the reasons.
I think the first rule should be that we should just be able to get it out, and then we can establish the rules.
Okay.
I think you're allowed to repeat it. I think it's fine.
Okay. I'm not going to, but so just to have a different reason. I mean, just the sheer commitment to what he was called to, the unending, unwavering focus and determination. Like, I mean, he was beaten in a city, threw out of the city walls. He was within an inch of his life. People come prayed for him. He was healed, and he walked right back into the same city that he was just beaten in. So, like, that's just talk about masculinity, right? When we had that conversation,
absolutely.
Like, that's
dude's a man.
So that's probably
what gets me with Paul, and I'm gonna forget where this is in Romans. I think it's, you know what? I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me. If I'm thinking correctly, because I'm on the spot now. It was Paul that says that he wishes that, or he says that he would himself be damned to hell for the
Romans
salvation.
9.
What'd you say?
Romans 9.
Romans 9. Okay. You know, he's like, oh man, I would be damned to hell for the salvation of those other people. And like trying to grasp that is just, it's so enormous.
Yeah. That's a lot. I can't find it, but he said Romans 9.
Yeah, Romans 9.
It's just crazy.
Would you like me to find it?
No, you don't have to find it. I mean, if you want, you can, but like can you like just imagine
Romans 9:3.
Go ahead, read it.
For I could wish that I myself were accursed and cut off from Christ for the sake of my brothers, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Talking about Jewish people who hadn't placed faith in Christ.
Like
that's
love.
That's what it means when it says brothers.
That is as loving as you can get.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Eternal spiritual death for the sake of other people. That's just that one's tough to swallow, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to read our engagements?
Engagements. Oh yeah. Thanks.
Because we listen to 100% of our audience.
We do. Kayla says Esther is her favorite. And then I want to point out, we should clip this and put it in a record book. Katie says she agrees with me on the character opinion. So I want to highlight that Katie agrees with me. And then Katie also says, I'll go Job if no one, I'm assuming that means
no one says that.
No repeats. Man of faith, man of perseverance, lost all, and still worshipped the Lord.
Yeah.
So
let's go.
Those are good.
All right, so current event.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So current event topic of conversation. Question is when, and I guess maybe you have to define or communicate if first, but when should the U.S. intervene in other countries' problems?
Oh, wow. I have no idea. I am
going
utterly ill-equipped to answer a question like that. I don't know anything about foreign policy. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so should I go with current policy or
no, I mean
contained policy, I mean stateside
no, I mean you asked the question.
Okay. Well, I want to ask questions that we can answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
So going off of the Ukraine and Russia debacle that's going on, that I think is still going on.
I'm trying to decide on whether.
And I guess I'm more asking from an ethical perspective. There are a lot of policies and protocol on which the United States should intervene.
I think that
but that doesn't mean that it's biblically ethical. And I don't know that this is
Right.
really a biblical filter, but like I said earlier, I think everything should be filtered.
Right. I would say that I think the United States needs to intervene when other countries are. I guess as a general principle, if it honors God, our leaders should be in alignment with God's will, and if something happens to another country that's outside of that, we should help the least of these. As just a general statement.
Just a general, yeah. I think that's a good answer.
That's what I would go with. I do think government has an obligation to its own citizens.
I agree too. I think that going off of
And
that,
that's why governments exist, and they get their authority from God.
Mhm.
I think that's in Romans chapter 13, I believe.
Yep, I just
I
turned
don't
to
know,
there.
but
So it's Romans chapter 13. Kayla says we shouldn't be funding it so much when we have enough troubles stateside. We need to fight for justice, but not just throw money at it.
that's what I was going to say in response to you.
Yeah.
Is there's my
Help is different than unlimited resources.
especially when there is no unlimited resources.
Right. And I think that it's okay to not get involved in something when or if there is a certain level of corruption.
I agree.
That could be happening.
Yeah.
Not that that's going to be a cookie cutter
Well,
response to every
that's a general
situation.
question.
It's just a general statement.
Nick, what are your thoughts? I know you're flipping pages. If you have anything.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for me to answer outside of just just the basics of what Romans 13 says a government should be. But even that's more talking about. So in Romans 13, Paul is writing to citizens on how they are to interact with their government. So like, there's not. I mean, I don't see a lot of this is how this is when you should choose to go fight a battle or war with another country. Like, there's just not a lot of principles to take to go do that unless you go and apply things that God said to Israel, but to the United States or to other countries. But then that's taking something very specific that God was doing and saying,
right,
kind of extrapolating that out to say that, okay, now that applies to us too in this context, in this situation. So it's just hard to say. So like the government is to be is to promote good and to be a terror to bad, to evil. So like that's in its own within its own
the United States
rule
government
and its
has
own
failed.
border.
Yeah.
But does that mean they should act the same in the world too, in like a foreign policy kind of way? Should they be a terror to bad conduct and promote good conduct? And how might they do that? There's just a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a multi-layered question. I understand.
Yeah.
Question though.
It's one that I enjoy thinking about. I guess really, I started thinking about that when question after I started like kind of diving into World War II, right? So like the United States didn't enter into anything until Japan decided to wake up the sleeping giant, and decided to take it onto our soil. So I think as far as like wars and stuff go, the way I would answer that question is when it directly affects us. However, I also know that and understand that there are allies and stuff like that. And so to me, that still directly affects us. And so I would say if somebody says like, well, what if, a country's attacking Israel? Well, that directly affects us. Not only does that directly affect God, I think that directly affects us as Israel is one of our closest allies. And so anything that I think happens to them, I think is much more similarly to like if something happens to me and I reach out to you and say, hey, Parker, can you help me? And you're like, yeah, I think that by definition that does directly affect you. Whether or not what you do is like what you do and how you respond to that is different. But because of the friendship that we have, when something happens to me or vice versa, if something happens to you, it's not like your life just moves on unscathed in mine. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think a little bit. Nick, I'm gonna put you on the spot again. And I'm not asking you to go super deep on this. I'm asking more as as just what information on it you have, maybe what questions, or maybe you haven't completely thought through it. But I have a book up here, Theonomy and Christian Ethics, and I think we're kind of scratching the surface of that a little bit. Do you have any, just me asking just because I don't know, do you know what do you know about theonomy and which way do you lean? And because I've heard a few different things on it and I'm just not really sure much about it.
I'm not like an expert on it by any means. I wouldn't consider myself to be a theonomist, but at the same time, I don't know that I know enough to really say one way or the other.
Okay, that's fair. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm just not sure.
It'd be kind of fun to research.
Like if someone pressed me, it'd be like God's law is the best law.
Right.
But
number one.
Yeah.
But where do we go from there? Because, I don't know.
Yeah. And there's also something called general equity theonomy, which is like you take not necessarily you don't take the exact wording of the law, but you take the principles. So like, the example in the Old Testament, there's a law where you have to have a fence around your roof. And the reason is that people would gather on your roof. And if you're a host, you're hosting people, it's your responsibility to care for the safety of the people who are in your home. So you put a fence on the roof because that's where you entertain, that's where you gather, and you don't want anyone to get injured or fall off, so you put a fence. So today that would be like putting a fence around your pool, right? You don't want a 2-year-old to go run into your pool because you didn't have a fence there that they couldn't get through, right?
I think we should actually bring
it's like
roof
that
parties.
kind of thing. Do what?
I think we should bring roof parties back.
You mean on our modern roofs?
No, like we should go back to building homes with a flat roof so that we can have roof parties. I would go to a party on a roof.
I would too. You would also have to
But
think
only if there was a fence around it.
Yeah, I wouldn't dare step on a roof that
would be
doesn't have
cool.
a fence.
Or maybe a really high ledge,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
right?
Because you could set your drink on it.
Yeah, but could you imagine like kind of living out in the country, having a roof? You can like look up
Yeah,
at
but
stars and
Can you also imagine in winter countries or countries that experience snow, you'd have to figure out how to shovel it, and I mean, I guess you could.
it's a roof.
I'd put some type of drainage system in and take a flamethrower to it and just let the water run off. Irrigation.
It would collect water.
Like every apartment building has a flat roof that you can go up to, right?
It's true.
That'd be cool.
Or most.
I second that. Hashtag bring rooftop parties back.
We should make t-shirts.
I'd wear that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Everything's a t-shirt.
We're gonna t-shirt the world.
All right, so next,
one more.
next is put them on the spot for.
I think
I got a question for both of you.
I think we've got time for one more.
So, and this is a little bit easier, I think, than the other questions.
Thank the Lord.
But I would like to ask both of you the question. It's very similar in conversation.
I doubt that it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
I have my doubts here.
Maybe not.
Track
Okay,
record.
I'll ask. Who do you want me to ask first, you or Nick?
I don't care.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. Go for it.
I'll ask you because you just put Nick on the spot. To balance it out. So Parker, how does being a cinematography I wish I was joking. So cinematographer,
Yeah.
and like in everything that comes with that, all of the video and production and stuff like that. I'm going to ask the question and then give a couple of like examples of parameter of or trains of thought in which that question came from. So the question is, how does it affect your family and you inside your family? And part of it is both. You can go as deep as you want, obviously, because I'm asking you the question. But some thoughts is like, I picture you watching a family movie and not being able to enjoy it or enjoy it more than is necessary to watch that family movie, and it affecting them in either a positive or a negative way, not in a like detrimental way. I'm not talking like whatever. But I mean like, whereas if I could watch the same movie and not experience it the same way you do because I don't have the knowledge and I don't see the same stuff you do. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, but I think it's not necessarily from knowing video or knowing production or anything like that, because I mean those guys know way more than me. I can kind of guess at what things, and I know certain angles, and I know some detail.
Right.
But the way I think, or at least the way I try to think intellectually about why this particular worldview or this particular idea is being displayed on the screen, either through the text or I'm sorry, the script or the cinematography or whatever that is, maybe the overarching character arc or the plot of the film. It's really hard for me to just watch that
And enjoy it.
just for that. I have to think about, okay, well, what is the director trying to portray?
Yeah.
What is what are the screenwriters trying to get at? What is the overarching thing? Because stories are meant to tell us something,
Right.
to give us something, whether it be an idea
There's a
or
message inside
there's
of
a
it.
message, right? So if I don't like a movie, there's a big long reason for why.
And does
And
that
I think
drip
that-
into the family then?
I would say yes. I think I've learned over time to ease that a little bit. But essentially, the reason why this podcast started is because of that.
Right.
Is because Nick and I have a history of talking about movies, and it's always, how does it affect our life? What is it trying to tell us?
Yeah.
What's the biblical biblical response to this, or does it support the Bible in this way? So I guess I would say that I think sometimes it gets tiring for people, but that's okay because people can be different.
Right.
That's
Right.
fine.
I agree.
So I think to answer your question more fully, I would say yes, but not always.
So there are areas in which what you do and how you do it and what you know, how it affects your family in a way. And again, I mean it in a positive way, or a negative way, not in a like defining way.
I think more so, and I would hope. I mean, I guess you could probably ask Kayla, but I would say
the negatives would be more
that-
nuanced.
Maybe
Or
she'll
more-
comment here in a second.
Maybe
He
she
did.
will.
He did
Yeah,
look.
she's like, that guy's full of crap. No, I think in a positive way, more so than a negative, or at least I would hope.
I would hope so as well, and I'm sure that that's the case. But I can see Kayla rolling her eyes
Actually,
in some scenarios.
I think Kayla would roll her eyes less than maybe my mother.
Okay,
Because my mother's very different. So my mom will watch a movie, and however the movie makes her feel
that's what it
is how good or bad it is.
Gotcha.
I'm not that way because I think movies are made to make you feel a certain way, and I want to understand why it's making me feel that way.
Right. It's not about the feeling; it's about why.
Right. And
Interesting.
there's nothing wrong with either way. It's just
Right.
how people are, and people experience art.
Right. Well,
art differently.
And that's why I asked the question, is because same way of basically it's the same question of whatever the expert field you're in, that is going to affect you in a way. Like for example, if you're a mechanic or a construction worker, most mechanics, their cars are not as good as what you would think, because working on your own car doesn't produce money. And I learned that from the mechanic that I used to work for. Except for he always took care of his stuff. But
So your example is proven wrong by your example.
But he also operated in that, but he didn't let me schedule his family during work hours. It was always after. So so that was the thing. But construction workers the same way. I think of it like if you're looking at a construction owner's house or whatever, there are things that you're going to look for, because if they do it in their home, they're going to do it in yours. And so that's kind of where that question comes in. And so which again is very similar to the question that I have, 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 the question the question that I have, 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 the question that Oh, it stopped. Oh no, it didn't.
No, it didn't. It's still going. I don't know what that was.
I don't either.
Anyway, back to Kayla's comment. It says, it has made me view movies, etc., from another perspective and deeper than I grew up consuming content. It's super important, and the culture is using this outlet to impact us and our kids.
You guys dropped out and came back, and now you're back with your computer audio again.
Oh, here we go.
He did cut out.
Bummer. Technical difficulties. I'll fix it here. Hang on. USB. Oh, you know what? I bet the camera. Something happened to the camera.
No, because you can still see the camera. And
It's a
we're
different
still
frame, though, isn't it? Are we still live?
live.
The Mixcaster is malfunctioning.
Should I turn it off?
Yeah, hang on. Give me 1 second. That was super strange.
It was weird. I thought it stopped the live. Katie does say it looks the same and we're still live, so that's good.
It's no longer letting me pick our audio equipment.
You can't switch it while.
I mean, we can still hear you. If you just want to, we can probably wrap up and.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up anyway, but that's super bizarre.
So thank you, Kayla, for the comment. I think that's cool. So and
sorry about the technical difficulties. So let's read this one more time real quick just to make sure. It says, it's made me view movies, etc., from another perspective and deeper than I grew up consuming content. It's super important, and the culture is using this outlet to impact us and our kids.
Yeah. And like I said, I think that comment, especially in today's age where movies are quite literally the number one way right now to communicate a message or an agenda, I think understanding and analyzing it is very important.
Right.
So that's cool. So Nick, my question to you, and Katie, you can answer this as well, is how does like being a preacher and having the ability to preach affect your family? And some of the things that I thought of, because my dad was a preacher, and so
Okay.
some of the examples that I had was disciplinary actions from my, and again, I'm communicating from a father-son perspective, and so you can answer however you want. But the disciplinary action methods were a lot more involved and communicated than I think a normal household would. And so it did two things. It made me, it made me value them because he always explained everything. And the reason why I say being a preacher inside of that is because like how he communicated was very similar by being a preacher. And there were things like even at the dinner table, like there were so many times where he would just start preaching. Like you just can't turn it off. So that's kind of where the question is coming from in what I mean by how does it affect you and your family.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it does. Not in a way that I can really think of, or maybe not even in a way that you're sharing, and partly because I think it's different than. So was your dad like full-time pastor, or your pastor?
And he was
right.
Yeah, he's very involved.
So I think it's a little bit different for me because I'm not like the full-time lead pastor or anything like that. I'm one of the elders on staff, one of the pastors at our church, and I'm a preacher on occasion, and obviously I love to do that. But I will say, from so far, the experience has been, generally speaking, the way that I've seen it impact my family most is that this is especially true with my daughter, but I think it's true of the whole family, and it might have nothing to do with my position as one of the pastors on staff. I don't know, but just like the who invest in and love like the people in my family is significantly higher than it would think. Just to look at, like, I could name 50 or 60 people who like really love and invest in my family all the time, like, and I don't know that would be the case in a different setting, but so the thing that comes to mind first, I'm sure there's and I don't know if I really go into sermons or anything at the dinner table or anything like that, but I'm sure there's times like that when we read to Link every night, so there's times when I'll stop and pause and look at her and say something about, well, what does this sound like in the Bible or something like that, just things
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, I think that's probably the most
Yeah, I want to add
common
something
way.
though, because that's biblical parenting. That should
Yeah.
have nothing
Right,
to do with being a pastor,
right.
you
Yeah.
know. So just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, cool. Well, this was fun, guys. We should do this more often for sure. It was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Nick?
Nope, good.
All right. Cool. Well, for those of you listening live, we appreciate it. For those of you that will listen to this in the future as a recording, thanks for listening. It's oh yeah, merch. I want to plug our merch. If you want to support the podcast, pbcinematography.com. You can go over to the tab shop, click on the WatchWell Podcast, and there's a whole bunch of merch on there. We've got sweatshirts and hats. This is a hat, the WatchWell Podcast hat. Um, check all that out, and then remember that it's always an Acts 17:22 kind of day. And we'll see you guys.